And here we are. Here we are, Simon Mann, Simon Hughes, and our special guest today, one of the greatest batsmen that's ever lived, first man to 10,000 runs, and I notice, occasional Bollywood movie star. It's Sunny D.
Yes.
It's Sunil Gavaskar. Thank you so much, Sunny, for joining us. Yeah, and tell us about the occasional movie star bit then.
Well, it actually happened. It's quite a story. Do you want me to? I mean, do you have the time?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, well, one of the umpires, test umpires called PD reporter, he umpired quite a number of test matches, and his sister was a film director. She used to also act in films. So she and her husband were film directors. So he actually, at one match, he said to me, Sunil, my sister wants to do a commercial film with you. And I said, and he said, don't say no to me. You must say yes. And being an umpire, I mean, he could raise his finger any bloody time. So I said, yes, definitely, I'll do the film. And that's how it started. And so, his sister and her husband came over and started telling me about how the camera would follow me. If the first shot would be of my back, and the camera will sort of zero in on me, and then I turn, and then the public will know, the viewing public will know, oh, that's Sunil Gavaskar, etc., etc. And then he told, I said, hang on a minute, what product am I endorsing? So he said, well, what do you mean product? So I said, no, your brother Pilu said to me that you're doing a commercial film, and I thought I was doing a commercial. So I didn't realize at that particular point of time that it was actually a proper film that he was talking about. And so I said, listen, I can't do this. I'm quite happy to do an endorsement because that's what I've been doing for some time. So you come to me for some chiclet, chewing gums, or IRX or whatever it is. I'm quite happy to do that. But this is not me. But they called up, and those were the days of the landline. They picked up the phone in my house and called up a Pilu reporter. And Pilu said, you promised me. You promised you do it. Now don't let me down in front of my sister. I said, well, listen, Pilu, I thought commercial means, anyway, to cut a long story short, so that's how the whole thing happened. And then it was quite funny because every time I gave a shot, the guys were saying, oh, fantastic, kick. And I'm saying to myself, after about 3-4 of these, scenes which I had shot, every time, first or second take, they were very happy. And I started to think that, I'm the king of acting, that if in 2 takes I'm getting it right, better than Sir John Gielgud, who was, and all these guys. I said, must be very brilliant. It's only a little later I realized that because those were the days of raw stock, not a video where you could record over and over again. The raw stock means once you filmed it, that was it. You couldn't use the film again. And that was the reason after every second of first take, they were saying, okay.
Oh, brilliant. What was the film called? Can you remember?
It was a Marathi film, Marathi language film, and it was called Savli Premachi.
And was it a box office hit?
Well, in terms of, as far as I know, it did about 11 or 12 weeks. So it wasn't a bad film at all. So 11, 12 weeks in those days wasn't a flop, yeah.
But it all ended there, did it, Sunil? It all ended there. That was the one and only.
Yes. After that, I did a couple of other sort of cameos. There was one where, if you've seen the movie called Brewster's Millions, where the guy inherits, his uncle leaves money for him, but he's got to spend, say, 30 million in 30 days without anything coming back to him. The 30 million has got to go. So it's similar based on that. And in which there was a particular scenario where he had to play a team of Sunil Gavaskar 11, and so spend money on the players, and flying me from wherever, etc. So I played myself in that, Sunil Gavaskar in that, pretty like myself. And that was the hardest thing to do. It's easy to act as Simon Mann or Simon Hughes, but I don't think I'll be able to act as Sunil Gavaskar.
It's when, I think that's when you've officially made it, though, when you're playing yourself in a movie, isn't it?
Well, I don't know about that, but I suppose, I mean, that was towards the end of my career. And but it was fun. It was fun because I acted with one of the greatest of Indian actors, Nasiruddin Shah. He was fantastic. He was really, really very helpful and one of the nicest guys you can come across.
Does the Bollywood industry and the cricketing world mix? I mean, I know obviously the IPL has been a very successful sort of juxtaposition of Bollywood and cricket. But what about, are you mates with any of the big Bollywood stars? Do you hang out together?
Well, we don't necessarily hang out together because, they have a very busy schedule as well. They're doing outdoor shooting most of the time. So it's not easy. But I'm pretty good mates with a couple of, big Bollywood producers, directors. So a couple of them I'm friendly with. There were a couple of other actors who I was very friendly with. And, a couple of them have passed away recently. Yes, I think coming from Mumbai, I think it's a lot easier because, Bollywood is mainly centered around Mumbai. So it's a lot easier for the Mumbai guys to be friends with the Bollywood guys.
I don't think we in England, we don't realise that someone like Amitabh Bachchan is such a massive. They call him Big B, don't they?
That is right. I mean, he's huge.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable.
Even bigger than you or Sachin, is he?
Oh, I think combined, bigger than both of us combined, bigger than perhaps the biggest. He's the biggest. He is quite simply the biggest.
Yeah. Actually, I remember I was in Mumbai when he was ill, about 7, 8 years ago, and they had about 8 TV crews camped outside the hospital, just reporting, every kind of little tiny, every time he had an injection or a relapse or something, they had it live on about 10 channels.
Yes. I think he's really, really big, and he's been absolutely fantastic. He's such a natural that, with other actors, sometimes, this is so and so acting. But with Amitabh Bachchan, when he plays a role, you never think it's Amitabh Bachchan. You actually, relate to the role that he's playing. I mean, that's my opinion,
Listen, Sonia, the World Test Championship final is not too far away. What's the situation? Are you coming over to commentate? Are you going to be in England, or are you stuck in India? What's happening?
No. Yes, I am hoping to fly down next week sometime. And then I guess I've got to do this 10-day quarantine. When I land in London, and then come down to Southampton. So yes, I am commentating. So I should be hopefully leaving sometime middle of next week to fly into UK.
It's you and Dinesh Karthik, isn't it, as the Indian representatives?
That is right.
Yeah,
that is correct.
But you'll have to hold his hand and show him the ropes, won't you? Because he hasn't done commentary before. I mean, I know he's done appearances, but he hasn't really done commentary before, I don't think.
Yes, he's he made his debut when I was the consultant for the Indian team way back in 2004. So as an Indian Test player, so I know him since those days. So he's one of those guys who's always keen to learn. I'm pretty certain he'll do a very good job.
Yeah. Okay.
One thing that's always puzzled me, Sonia, is, I mean, you were a huge star, and yet you're into your 70s now, and you're still commentating. You still got this love for the game. Have you ever sort of thought, I've seen enough cricket now? What is it that keeps you coming back?
I think the love for the game more than anything else. I mean, look, I'm blessed to be able to do what I'm doing at the moment, because what it does, it keeps me in touch with the modern game, keeps me in touch with all the changes that are happening with the game. To be able to actually be there firsthand, to be able to see how the game is evolving, the newer stars coming through, and some of the newer techniques that are coming through, in the sense that, the shots that we would never have even dreamt of playing when we played in the 70s and 80s. I mean, boys are playing them so beautifully. The bowling, the variety that is there in the bowling today, all that is just so exciting. And if you love the game like I do, then you just want to be involved with the game some way or the other. So that is what keeps me going, actually. And of course, in recent times, so the fact that the Indian team's been absolutely brilliant. So, I mean, there's the enthusiasm. Who are they going to beat this time around again? How are they, how are they going to perform? So that's the key. If the Indian team was losing, then perhaps maybe it wouldn't be the same. But the Indian team's been winning for the last 10, 12 years, and that's been fantastic.
Well, it's going to continue as well. I mean, there's an amazing array of talent in India. I mean, you could almost bring over two squads or two sides for the World Test Championship final. What do you find is harder, commentating on the IPL or commentating on a Test match, or what's easier? What's the difference between the two?
Well, the difference really is that the IPL is, or the T20 format is a lot more, very, very, fast. So you are sort of, trying to pretty much predict what you reckon is what you think is going to happen. In Test matches, you still have a little more time to think, a little more time to analyze. There's not much time for analyzing anybody's technique. You're just talking about, approach and attitude, not so much about technique. And that is what, the difference really is. In Test cricket, there is time to allow the picture to breathe. You often don't say anything. You allow just the picture to speak for itself. But in T20 cricket, you're all the time, expected to speak, to add to the excitement, to add to the action.
I must say,
that's a difference.
You always sound really energetic, and you're 70, are you now? I mean, you sound like a sort of, you spring chicken. Where do you get your energy from? What's your secret?
I actually just get it from watching the game. I just get so excited. I mean, I know a lot of people who played around my time. They're not very happy with the T20 format. I think they think, what kind of cricket is this? I actually love it. I love it for the simple reason that it's a 3-hour game, 3 hours 15 minutes maybe, and you got a result, and you get to see lots of
4 hours 15 minutes.
Sometimes, yes, in the IPL, sometimes it can go on. But I think you get to see so much of action. You get to see massive hits. You get to see, like I said, the variety of bowling, the back of the hand, slower delivery, the knuckle ball which has come through now. I mean, all that is I'm pretty wide-eyed at this. But and when somebody plays the switch it and the reverse sweep, I'm out of my chair. Because I just think those are fabulous shots. I just think those are incredible shots, and it takes a lot of skill to be able to execute them and hit them for sixes. I mean, switch hits are being hit for sixes. I mean, that is incredible, and I love it.
Do you ever think, oh, I wish that had been part of my cricketing career? To be able to play those different shots. I mean, you were a relatively orthodox player, weren't you? It was very, very strong on technique and that sort of thing. Do you think actually I would have loved to be able to play with that freedom?
Oh, definitely. Definitely, I would have. There are two reasons. So, nobody would have pointed a finger at you if you looked to play a big shot and got out, because that is expected of you in the T20 format. And the second biggest thing about me wanting, if T20 cricket would have been there during the time that I played, was the simple fact that you fielded only for 20 overs, not more.
Yeah. Well, listen, actually, that's a good cue to just show you and our assembled audience today just a few clips of one of your innings. I have actually got a little short highlights of your 172 against Australia, which I think was your 32nd Test 100. Just before we play it, and by the way, there's some quite sort of T20 type shots in this innings. What do you remember of the occasion?
Well, I think it was a test that we had to win, in the sense that we had gone, we just missed winning the previous game. We needed about 130 to win it at Melbourne, the second test of that series. And I think we'd got to maybe 70, 80 at tea time, and it just bucketed down. So we had to score 60 runs. We had, I think, maybe 8 wickets in hand to score those 60 runs to win. And we couldn't, there was not a single ball that was bowled after that, because, the game just got washed out. So we came down for the final test, knowing that we got the opportunity to bat first, and we had to put up a big score. So I remember it was a good pitch to bat on after. And Australian pitches, once the first hour is done with the ball, new ball's done, then I think they're pretty good to bat on. So we thought we'd take great advantage of it.
Well, you certainly did that. So let's just have a little look at some of the innings here. Wait a minute. I'm just going to, sorry, I've just got to switch something around. Right. Sorry. So this is a little bit of the innings. Hope you can hear the commentary as well. I'm just going to play it.
Very bright as the bowler. Gavaskar takes strike. That's been one of the features of this morning for me, Frank, the placement. Full toss again. There've been a lot of full tosses out there this morning. Shot. Beautiful place here again. Only a yard or so wide of the man at forward square or right towards mid wicket. And this very quick outfield is giving full value out there today. Beautiful placement. Brings up Gavaskar's 50. Gavaskar goes over the top. Century number 32. Brought up in uncharacteristic-like fashion from Gavaskar. Goes in the record book. Delighted little man he'll be.
I'm more or less delighted about it. The second century of the day against Australia. And look at this. Gavaskar collecting his thoughts. Saying to himself, play straight.
Gavaskar. Delicate. Shot. The lapse in that area. Beautifully cut away by Gavaskar. Down to the cover, but to the point boundary. This time, Gavaskar goes well over the top of Stephen Moore's head. So suddenly a bit of urgency from India. Holland down to Gavaskar. We got it. Bobby Holland brought into the attack. After a long spell in the pastures, has struck for the Australians. Almost 24 hours later, Sunil Gavaskar out bowled by Bobby Holland.
It's a ground of very generous ovation. Bowled Holland for 172.
So yeah, a tremendous innings with some, some quite adventurous shots there. Would you say?
Yes, I think the situation was, there at that stage that you had to get some quick runs for the declaration. But I saw that, and there was that lofted shot to get to the 100, and that was one of my unfulfilled ambitions towards. Was I wanted to get to 100 with a 6, but I never did. I just wanted to get to a Test century with a 6, and that was what I was trying. But those were Australian grounds, big grounds, so wasn't quite able to do that.
That's that one there. I think it's this one here, probably.
Yeah.
Gavaskar goes over the top, and that's century number 32.
Yeah. So you tried to hit it for 6, and it just plopped for 4.
Yeah.
But that'll do. So it's still not bad.
Yeah, that'll do. Yes, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Just talk us through, just to finish on that innings. Just talk us through this here then, right? I just put a little clip in at the end. Talk us through what are you doing here?
Well, actually, it was a full toss, and there was a deep mid wicket at that stage.
No, I'm talking about. Sorry, I'm talking about this. This. What were you doing here? This is after you just scored 100.
Well, this is what I learned from Nadi Contractor, the former Indian captain, and. He would say to me that he did that where he sort of cupped his hands around his eyes and looked straight down the pitch, so as to say, look, okay, now no more distractions. I'm going to play straight in the V, as if I'm beginning my innings again. So when you play the first ball, you're saying to yourself, play in the V, don't, and as you stay longer at the crease, then you expand that V, so you can play with a slightly open face bat, but at the start of your innings, show the full face of the bat. So like that, so when you get to 100, I'm saying to myself at that stage, now you're on 0, start your innings again.
When you went to your 100, how many of those, you made 34 test hundreds, how many of them did you try to go to your 100 with a 6? I mean, was it just like a handful of occasions, or just once or twice you felt I'm right in the zone here?
I think probably the last maybe 6 or 8 hundreds, not before that, but the last 6 or 8 hundreds. Even the one I think probably my 33rd 100 against Australia, and that was at the Wankhede Stadium. It went one bounce over the boundary.
You know what you needed. You needed a modern bat. What weight was your current? What weight was your bat?
I think it was about 2.6.
Okay. Yeah.
It was about 2.6 to 2.8. That was
Okay.
it.
Yeah. And did you hit many 6s in say in tests?
I think so. I certainly know I hit more than Sir Geoffrey.
I can tell you the answer to that, because when I was helping you put together the quiz for Sonny later, how well do you know yourself? I actually looked at the number of 6s that Sonny hit in his career, but I thought the question was too obscure to ask. It was actually 26 test match 6s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's better than Bradman and Boycott. How many was Boyks then?
I can't remember.
About half that.
Can't remember, but it wasn't that many. No.
Many more than Boycott, definitely.
Did you when you played against Boyks, did you wind each other up much?
Well, at that stage, to be honest, we didn't know each other that well. But then it's only after we started to do a bit of commentary that we got to know each other well. And I remember when he got past Sir Garfield Sobers's mark of the highest run getter in Test cricket. That happened in Delhi. And in those days, every association used to have a dinner reception for both the teams. So pretty formal, you came in a jacket, tie, etc. So at that reception that evening, the evening that he got past Sir Garfield's record, I was the captain of the Indian team, so I had to speak. And I said to him, Geoffrey, enjoy it for 2 years. I'll be right there. And I did it within 2 years.
and you did. And haven't you got quite a good story about then you had to go to a dinner yourself when you got to 10,000 runs, didn't you? And you didn't have some of the right kit or something. Or maybe did you invite the Prime Minister or something, and you had to go and see him without your shoes on or something like that? I don't know.
That was in Pakistan. When the president of Pakistan, landed up at a match between the Indian touring team and the Pakistan board president's 11. I mean, you don't expect the president of Pakistan or the prime minister anyway to land up at a non-test match. But because the match was being played in Rawalpindi, which is the twin town of Islamabad, he just decided to come in. And I wasn't playing in that game. And so our manager said, look, you met him before on a previous tour. So you go and sit with him. I'm not going to sit with him. The manager was nervous or whatever. And but it was completely unexpected. So I didn't even have my blazer or anything of the sort. And Jimmy Amanat, who's, he comes across as a very serious guy, but he's pretty, he's a prankster. Seeing that I was being told to go, he went out, he picked my shoes up and he threw it up on the roof of the pavilion. So I didn't have anything to go in. And eventually I borrowed somebody's shoes and went and sat with the Pakistani President General Zia.
Yeah, yeah. Just quickly, one other quick question on your career. How did you get? Where was that? I mean, there's that famous Shivaji Park in Mumbai, and there's also the Maidan, the sort of famous Azad Maidan. That's that place was surrounded by all those Victorian buildings. Where did you kind of play most of your cricket as a youngster?
I started at the Maidans, the Azad and the Cross Maidans. Yeah, that is where you played your school cricket. But I was not Shivaji Park. I was Dadar Union. Now there's a bridge. So at one end of the bridge is Shivaji Park. And you go over the bridge and then you come to Dadar Union. So if you ever want to, get under my skin, you can always say, oh, you played at Shivaji Park. Because Dadar Union and Shivaji Park were like, in those days, in the early days, it was like Lancashire against Yorkshire. You know how bitter the rivalry was between Lancashire and Yorkshire way back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So Shivaji Park and Dadar Union Sporting Club, their rivalry has been like that. So if you really want to get under my skin, you say, oh, you played for Shivaji Park, when I actually played for Dadar Union. So when people say you're from Shivaji Park, I said, no, I'm not. I am from Dadar Union across the bridge. There's a big bridge and, that is it. And the Dadar Union and Shivaji Park, had a different approach altogether. Dadar Union was very, very disciplined. I'm not saying Shivaji Park wasn't, but Shivaji Park had a lot more laid back attitude. Dadar Union was far more disciplined. It was all about respecting the game, etc., etc. It was a different, scenario. But Shivaji Park were a fabulous team as well.
And what Sachin obviously famously had that massive partnership with the left-hander. What was his name? They scored.
Kambli.
No, and they sort of put on about 600. Did you have at school or young, when you were young, did you have a mammoth partnership and score a 100 or something?
Yes, in the Coach Bihar Trophy, when we were playing for West Zone schools against East Zone schools, my opening partner and I, we had a partnership of 400.
400.
Not 600, and I never got around to 600. No, 400. Then another time, I think with another opening partner, got to 492, but never more than 500.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. I mean, I've just been at a school match now, and it was like 90 for 5 or something off 20 overs. I mean, it's just a completely different. So it's on a different planet, isn't it? When you Indian school cricket, really, or it used to be anyway.
What age were you, Sonny, when you thought, yeah, I could really make something of this? I mean, was it, you 8 or 10 or 15 or?
No, look, I struggled. to get to the Mumbai Ranji Trophy team. I made my debut from Mumbai in a game which was like a trial game for the Indian team to go to Australia in 1967-68. So while 21 players out of the 22 in that game who were looking to get into the Indian team to go to Australia, I was the only guy making my debut for Mumbai who was just wanting to establish myself for the Mumbai team, because I knew that there would be at least another maybe 5-6 players from Mumbai would be on the trip to Australia. So therefore, I was hoping that if I play well in that game, I'd be able to keep my place. I failed in that game, and I didn't play for Mumbai for 2.5 years. 2.5 years. So to be honest, no, I never thought that I would be able to make it. Not till I actually went to the West Indies and got some runs there. But till then, I was never certain that cricket is something that I can carry on playing, or cricket would be my career.
Yeah, well, I think you got 300s in that series, didn't you? Your first series, you got 300s. I mean, that's incredible, incredible, really.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know, Yoz, whether we should move on to the present day and talk.
I just got one more question actually about that sort of era. Well, how good do you think this Indian team are? Because you played against the West Indies, the great West Indies side of the 70s and 80s, and obviously you saw at close hand the emergence of the Australians in the 90s. How good is this Indian team, do you think, compared to that great West Indies side and the Aussies?
Well, I think it is, comparisons are always a little bit difficult, but I think this is probably the finest Indian team that we've seen, because it's such a well-balanced team. It's got champion batsmen, it's got champion bowlers, champion fast bowlers, fabulous spinners. They've got a very, very good wicketkeeper, a young wicketkeeper batsman who's going to dominate world cricket for a long, long time. So I believe that this is, from what I have seen, I'd say from 1960 onwards, this has got to be the best Indian team ever. For the simple reason, it's so balanced. There is no apparent weakness in this team. There's no apparent weakness in this team at all. you could say, oh, at the top, here, there, but no, I don't think there's any weakness in this Indian team.
One of the things that we've been discussing on our podcast, Sonny, is can this Indian team dominate in the way that the West Indies did in the 1980s and Australia did in the 1990s into the 2000s? Are we entering, or have we entered a sort of the Indian era in the way we had the West Indian era and the Australian era?
I'm not too sure they'll be able to dominate like they did. Like West Indies were winning, all 5 Test matches. Even the Australians just to win 4 out of 4 or 4 out of 5. I'm not too sure that this Indian team can do that because because of the fact that while they are an absolutely superbly talented team, there are at times inconsistencies that you see, and that is the only thing that makes me hold my breath a little bit. But as far as the potential of this team is concerned, I think the sky is the limit for them. If clearly in a game of cricket, not 11 can succeed. But if say maybe 4 of your team can succeed, 2 of them bowlers and 2 of them batsmen, then you're winning more games. And I think that is what this Indian team certainly is capable of.
And what do you put it down to? Why they're so good? I know you said that great balance and talented fast bowlers, but what's the reason behind the production of so many players, so many good players?
Well, I think it's the system of the A teams that India has been having. India has been sending its A teams. India has been sending its under 19 teams to participate, play all over the world. So clearly, I think the experience that all these games get, all these tours that the players get, that is unbelievable. So when they're actually entering, taking the next step of playing for India at the international level, then they're pretty much ready for it. And I think one of the biggest things is the IPL. Because what the IPL has done is that it's got young Indians to share dressing rooms and change rooms with some of the greatest names in the world in the game today. For a youngster to be sitting in the same change room as a Ben Stokes or a Joss Butler or an AB de Villiers or even a Chris Gale, I'm just taking a few names. It's fantastic. Apart from, of course, the Indian players, apart from sharing a change room with a Virat Kohli or a Rohit Sharma or a Ravichandran Ashwin, huge names. But to be able to see how they prepare, to be able to see how they deal with failure, that's a crucial part of learning. How they take failure, how do they sulk in the corner, or do they go back to the laptop and try and see where they failed, and do they put in next day when they go for practice, do they try and get over that particular weakness? Now, these are things that young Indians learn from watching. And then once you have seen that and you imbibe that in your own game, your game is going to get bigger. But more importantly also is the awe factor. The awe factor is no longer there. Now, if you are not playing with or against, say, a Ben Stokes in the IPL, when you see a Ben Stokes coming into bat, you would think, oh, that's Ben Stokes. That is Ben Stokes coming into bat. And you would be just a little bit overawed. But now, because you've shared a change room with Ben Stokes or an AB de Villiers, and so when they come into play, that awe factor is not there. You know that, look, he's also got 2 eyes, 2 hands, 2 legs, and he's also got human frailties. He can get out as well. So I think that's one of the biggest factors.
How important is the World Test Championship final to India, do you think? It's a new competition, and it's a final against New Zealand and Southampton. Everyone thought it was going to be at Lords, but there are all sorts of restrictions, so that makes it quite difficult. Is it something that's right up there? Do you sense that's the situation for this Indian team and the Indian public?
Oh yes, definitely. Yes, I think the Indian public is excited. It's the World Test Championship finals. And, because of the fact that India in the last maybe 3-4 years have not quite won a world title. They lost in the Champions Trophy final in 2017. They didn't quite make it to the finals of the 2019 World Cup. So yes, I think this World Test Championship final is big. India wants to win this. The Indian cricket-loving public want India to lift this trophy. So yes, it is huge.
Are you slightly surprised it's New Zealand in the final? I mean, they're not the sort. I mean, they're not the most glamorous team, but they're very good all-round side. But does that give India a slightly better chance? Do you think, or the fact that actually New Zealand are playing a couple of warm-up Test matches against England is quite a big advantage to them, possibly?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is definitely a big advantage to New Zealand because they're going to be match ready when they take on India. They'll certainly, but again, it could be a situation where England have dominated New Zealand in those first two Test matches, so New Zealand could be down on confidence as well, and which will actually help India. So I mean, it can balance out. You could actually have a situation where sometimes when you play two matches earlier on, one of your key players could be injured, and he might not be playing. But then New Zealand have always been, like you said, maybe not a team with big names. They've always been under the radar, and that's why they surprised so many people in world competitions. In world competitions over the last few years, have a look at the number of times they've been in the finals or in the semi-finals. They've always been there. So it's a very, very talented team, maybe understated and not a flashy team, but India will make a huge mistake if they underestimate this New Zealand team.
Just one quick question, one more question on the IPL. I love your enthusiasm for commentary on the IPL. What player would you like to be if you could be any of those modern players? You talked about you'd love to have been able to play the reverse sweep and things like that. What player do you watch now and you think, oh, I'd love to have been them?
A.B. de Villiers. Bat like A.B. de Villiers, 360 degrees, play everything. I mean, just make it look so as if you're having a net, as if you're having just a little hit in the net. I mean, he makes it look so simple, and he hits a fair distance, and he's very elegant as well. So when he hits some of the shots, I love the way the follow through of his bat goes right over the shoulder. It's not one of those punches. It's like a proper shot. I love watching him bat.
Actually, because we had those clips we showed of you there. You had a sort of, I suppose, in our mind, you are quite an orthodox sort of solid player, but you were having flowing drives there in that innings. Yeah, it's lovely to watch. And you're in your flat just before we go to the audience questions. You're in your flat in Mumbai. What are those? Can you show us any interesting paintings, mementos, ornaments, or anything that you've got? What are those things behind you there? Just paintings.
Well, those are my granddaughter's paintings. She's a little bit of a painter, so she's done a little bit of that. But there's no mementos here. If I might say, this is not the flat that I usually stay in. But this is the flat where I was, but because of the corona virus, I've sort of isolated myself over here, and not on the flat in the flat where I usually stay. So there's very little cricketing memento here. Very little cricketing memento in the other flat as well, because whatever mementos I had, I used to send it to my parents' place in Pune, in their apartment, Pune is about 120 miles from Mumbai.
And what's the story with the COVID at the moment in your neighbourhood?
I think it's much better from what it was about, say, 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago in Mumbai itself, we were getting about 7,000 to 8,000 cases daily, but now I think it's come down to a little over 900 or something like that. So that's been a great improvement in the situation. The lockdown's still there. There are restrictions still around. They might open it in the next maybe 10-15 days, but yes, I think Mumbai is getting a lot better.
Right. And you're looking forward to your 10-day quarantine in the UK, are you?
As long as I get enough space to walk 10,000 steps a day, I'm quite happy.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so. Right, I think it's time for some audience questions.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Right.
And so welcome, by the way, to everybody who hasn't been a member of the club, who joined just for tonight. I think we had a few take-ups on the Eventbrite site. So welcome to all of you. And, don't forget, you can join our regular club by going to Patreon, going to theworldsbestcricketclub.com, and you can sign up there. £6 a month. And we've got Michael Vaughan's coming up, and also Ebony. And next week, I'll tell you about what we're doing next week when Sonny's gone. So there's a special show next week, but we'll come to that later.
There's a special show this week as well.
Special show this week. Yeah, exactly. With Sonny, and now we've got Ian Wixton. Good evening, Ian.
Good evening, Simon. It's great to have you back, Simon. And Sunil, real pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you.
You gave the Cowdrey lecture, I think it was in 2003. To what extent does the BCCI employing commentators challenge the spirit of cricket, do you think?
I think, there's some sort of a misconception about the BCCI's hiring of commentators and the restrictions, the so-called restrictions on the commentators. I think that's a perception which is wrong, because nowhere in my contract has there ever been anything about not saying this or not saying that. We've had guys like Michael Holding. Now, Michael Holding would never sign a contract with BCCI if he was told that you cannot say this or you cannot say that. So it's been a perception that has been created by that you cannot say this. Over a period of time, as you sort of see a lot more cricket, as you get older, I think you all sort of are a little tempered in your observations or your criticism, if one might call it. So that's it. And sometimes people expect but that is not what happens. Again, not all of us are Richie Benaus, so in the term in the sense that he had such a fabulous control over his emotions, in the sense that all of us who have played for the country, when you see your country not doing well, there's a certain sort of thing that builds up. And while Richie was the master of saying something about an Australian team which had not done well, saying something like, "Oh, if this batsman who had played a bad shot, if he goes back and he sees the highlights, I'm sure he won't be pleased to see the shot he played." So somebody like me would say, "Oh, that was a terrible shot." Unlike Richie, would have said, "Oh, that's a shot that you would not like to watch in the highlights." Now, the cricketer would not be offended by what Richie has said, because he would say, and if I said, "Oh, it's a terrible shot," or if it's it's pathetic bowling, or if but somebody who says it's ordinary bowling, so that is, I think, something that over a period of time you get used to. But as far as once again to say that the perception that BCCI tells you to not do this and not do that is completely and totally wrong.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Great, thanks for your question.
Yeah, good question, Ian.
Yep. Who's next? Who's next, Norts?
It's Milesh.
Milesh. Hello, Milesh.
Hello, Milesh.
Hi.
I think you're new, aren't you? Where are you?
Yeah. Hi, Simon and Simon. I am from Mumbai. Simon.
Right. So you're staying up late like Sunny then. Well, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Sunny bhai, good evening from Amchi, Mumbai. Parliament bolta hai, Sunny bhai.
Good evening. Good evening.
Sunny bhai, before Simon, can I take a minute more, because this is once in a lifetime opportunity actually, and it cannot get bigger than this for people like us, talking to Sunny bhai. So, Sunny, before I ask my question, 221 at the Oval, fourth innings run chase against England in English conditions, facing Botham, Willis, Hendricks in their prime. I believe it is slightly better than 281 by VVS, with all due respect to VVS, of course. That is what I always wanted to tell, and this is the best platform that I can possibly get. First question, I have two questions. The first question is, Sunny bhai, knowing your cricketing brain and the Khadus brand of cricket which you brought from the Mumbai School of Cricket, was Sunil Gavaskar the best coach India never had? That is the first question, especially in the 90s when we were struggling. So that is the first question. The second is, Sunny bhai, we all love Ranji cricket so much, and it is the next catchment area for India A, for the India cap as well, and of course under 19 is in India is definitely a much stronger base today. But this question is coming primarily because for certain reasons Ranji was not held this year, and for the same reasons IPL was held. So somewhere is the kind of direction that is coming is, will the next India cap come by the way of IPL and not as much through Ranji, or can this be treated as one-off situation? And can the Arzan Nagwaswalas and Abhimanyu Eswarans breathe a little more easier? Thank you.
Well, I think to answer your second question first, I do believe that Ranji Trophy is still very, very important. If you score runs in the Ranji Trophy, take wickets in the Ranji Trophy, you certainly give yourself a chance of representing India in Test cricket. Yes, I think the IPL is a platform which has got a bigger audience, because of television coverage. All matches are covered. All matches are not covered on television for Ranji Trophy, but all matches for IPL are covered. And because it is a sort of a mini international tournament with so many international players playing, what comes through, and it's a very high pressure tournament, because everything is compacted. Everything is in happening in 20 overs of batting and 20 overs of fielding. So anybody who does well, shines through on the temperament front. And for me, temperament has always been what separates the men from the boys. And so that if you have got the temperament to be able to bowl well in the final couple of overs, or to hit the ball well in the final few overs, that shows that you've got good temperament, you've got a good cricket attitude and thinking. So that obviously separates you, and therefore when people notice it, they're going to talk about you. Look, you did this, you did that. So yes, I think that is the reason why I think IPL players who perform well in IPL tend to sort of have a little bit of a head start over those who play in Ranji Trophy, where the matches are not necessarily not all matches are covered. But no, I think the 4-day format is different, and those who do well in that will certainly still be at the top of the line when picking teams for Test cricket is concerned. As far as your first question about being a coach, I've been a terrible watcher of cricket, even when I was playing the game. So if I got out, then I would be watching the match very intermittently. So I would watch for a while, then go inside the change room, read something, or reply to letters, etc. Then come out and watch again, and then come back. But I wasn't a ball by ball watcher, like say G.R. Vishwanath is. GRV or my uncle Madhav Mantri was completely ball by ball watcher. And if you want to be a coach, or if you want to be a selector, you've got to be a ball by ball watcher. And therefore, I never even thought about being a coach. Having said that, I've had people coming up to me, and not the current lot, but say the Sachins and the Rahul Dravids and the Sehwags and the Gangulis and the Lakshmans coming up to me and talking about their batting. And so I've been very happy to exchange notes with them, whatever my observations have been. So yes, I've been able to maybe help them somewhere down the line, but on a full-time basis, no, that's not something that I can do.
Oh, good answer. Great questions, Milesh, and welcome to the club. Thank you very much for joining. Hope we can tempt you with some other guests in future weeks. So thanks a lot.
Sure.
Good questions. Hope you're happy with those answers.
Yeah.
So let's move on, and Jacob's now on screen. Hi, Jacob.
Hello there, both Simons. It's been an absolute privilege to listen to you, Sunny Bhai, and just like Milesh, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to listen to you. My question is about the 5-test series in England, which you're obviously coming to England for. My concern, obviously, I'm not an expert like you, nowhere near, but my concern is the Indian batting, really, because I think the Indian bowling will get, they've proven they've got 20 wickets in every condition, South Africa, Australia, and hopefully they will in England as well. My concern is the Indian batting. Kohli will score, you would think, Pujara will put up a fight. I'm still not convinced about Rohit Sharma at the top with Shubman Gill. Obviously, he's quite early on in his career. Against Jimmy and Stuart Broad with the Duke's ball as well, and also Rishabh Pant. Yes, he's done pretty well in Australia. I have no idea how he's going to do in England. So I think that's where it's going to be won and lost how the India's batting, and just wanted your theory and your opinions on that.
Well, I mean, the matches are being played in August, September, and
Yeah.
I think conditions will be that much better for batting in August, September than if the series was held in June, July. So that's certainly going to work in favor of the Indian batsmen. Though you can never underestimate bowlers. Two bowlers who have taken between them, I think, 11 or 12 Test wickets. You can never underestimate them. But again, you could have a situation that they might not play all the 5 Test matches because of this thing called workload management. I mean, I don't know why people will not play for their country. Workload or whatever it is, you should be able to die for playing for your country. But that's okay. That's probably my old-fashioned view. But yes, I think matches being played in August, September will certainly help the Indian batsmen considerably. I don't think it'll move as much. I could be completely wrong. I don't think it'll be. The pitches will be a lot better to bat on. Not be that green or grassy. And now with the Indian new ball attack being what it is, not too many groundsmen will leave too much of grass because that can work in favor of the Indian bowlers as well. So I understand to a certain extent your anxiety, but don't be that anxious. I do believe that this Indian batting lineup will hold its own this year.
How do you think Rohit Sharma will get on?
Well, I think in his case, it's always the first 2-3 overs that is nervous for everybody, because those are the overs when his front foot is not quite getting to the pitch of the ball. But a couple of overs down the road, I mean, his front foot starts getting to the pitch of the ball, and then he's very good. Even in Australia, I mean, the time he had, he didn't score too many runs, but the time he had to play their fast bowlers was amazing. I mean, he was making it look as if these guys who were bowling at 90 miles an hour were actually bowling at 40 miles an hour. I mean, he had so much time to play, and his thing is that he's all the time looking to attack. So sometimes the shot selection can be where he gets out. But if he gets that right, then he can get as many as 300s in this 5 Test series.
Fills me with hope.
Yes.
You sound a bit pessimistic, Jacob. I mean, India must have a great chance this summer. I mean, I've gone to Australia and done well as well. I know the conditions in England can be a bit different, but there were some very tight Test matches last time, which they was just on the wrong end of. I mean, it could be. It promises to be a fascinating series. Okay, Pushkar, good evening to you.
Hi, Sunil. So it's a great moment because whenever I listen from many people of 80s or 90s, we heard 2 cricketers, Sir Viv Richards and Sunil Gavaskar. So it's one of the lifetime moment to talk with you. Another would be Viv Richards. So my question is basically regarding to the current Indian luck. With the exit of Sehwag and Gambhir, India has somewhat struggled as an opening pair. So for a brief instant of time, there was Murli Vijay and Shikhar Dhawan. But then we had lots of mix-ups. Sometimes we had KL Rahul, but now we have Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill. So, and also we have, say, Mayank Agarwal in the fray. So do you think that the Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill is a long-term solution to the Indian opening pair, or we are still going for some more experiments? Because Australia would have, just one more point, because I think Australian condition just suited Rohit Sharma because of the attacking batsman. He liked the ball to come on his bat. But the English condition might be a bit different for Rohit Sharma.
Yeah, well, the new ball in will certainly move a lot more in England than it did in Australia. There's no question about it. And that's why the first few overs are always going to be the ones that are going to be important and crucial. But I think over a period of time, what Rohit Sharma has realized is, and you can see that in the way he is now scoring runs very, very consistently, is that he needs to give himself a little time out in the middle. Luckily, this is going to be straight only a test series. There is no in between one-day cricket or T20 cricket to make to sometimes confuse a batsman. So there is going to be in his mind is going to be clear that he needs to give a little time at the start to get used to the pitch, to get used to the movement. And if he does that, then he will score runs. Shubman Gill is also a very, very fine prospect. And I think they complement each other very well. Because with them, what happens is that both of them are at the same time putting pressure on bowlers from both ends. And therefore, being able to play and hit boundaries of good deliveries, which both of them do, does put the pressure back on the opposition. But again, like I said to answer the earlier question, when you have an opening attack of 1,200 test wickets between them, then it's not going to be easy. And so they have, whether it is Gill, Pujara, Sharma, Kohli, when they come into bat first, they've got to give themselves just a little time to settle down.
Great. Thanks for your question, Pushkar. I think we've got time for two more, or we've got two more lined up. So who is our penultimate questioner this evening? It's Mark. Hello, Mark.
Hello, boys. Hello, Simon.
Hi, Mark.
Sunil, how are you? Hope you're well.
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you. I got a couple of questions. Over your long career, who was the bowler you feared the most, and who was the best batsman you played against?
The best bowler that I fear in terms of pace, or fear in terms of quality of his bowling. In terms of pace, I think Jeff Thompson was the quickest. But in terms of the ability to get you out anytime, it was Andy Roberts with Malcolm Marshall, Richard Hadley, and Imran Khan just a wee bit below that. But Andy had the great ability to get you out even if you're past 100. So he was the bowler that you had to be most watchful against. And who was the best batsman that I saw? I think everybody agrees that it is Viv Richards for the way he dominated the opposition attack and just took the game away. So he's got to be the best opposition batsman that I've seen.
Oh, good.
There we go, Mark. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Straightforward answer.
Let's see if I can find out who took your wicket the most.
Yeah. While you do that, Yoz, let's see who our final question is from.
Yeah.
It's Will. Hello, Will.
Evening, Simon. Hello, Simon. Sonny,
Hello,
hello. Very nice listening to you. First of all, sorry, I will just make an apology. I've missed the last couple because I've been doing various events and all that. So this is like coming back from a long time away. So anyway, Sonny, my two questions to you are: my first one is, what was the greatest all-rounder of all time that you ever played against? Because you were brought up in the era of both of them and all that lot, and Jeff Thompson and all that. And my second question to you is, what was the hardest pitch in India to bat on during your career? If you could pick any of the grounds in India to bat on, what would be your hardest pitch to bat on?
Well, the greatest all-rounder that I saw was Garfield Sobers, because it was quite simply somebody who could, change the game with the bat. He could change the game with the ball. He could change the game by taking an incredible catch, in close-in or even in the outfield. And all the other names that you mentioned were maybe just marginally below Sir Garfield. But Sir Garfield, because of the impact that he had and the number of matches that he turned with both bat and ball is the reason why he was the greatest all-rounder that I've seen. And the hardest pitch that I played with was at Chennai in 1978 against the West Indies. It was the fastest pitch that I played on. I played at Sabina Park a couple of occasions when the ball's been flying. I played at Perth. I played at the Gabba where the ball's been traveling. I played on a rain-freshened pitch at Sydney when Jeff Thompson was really letting it rip. But that pitch in Chennai 1978 with Sylvester Clarke, the ball was just flying around. And I think that's the most difficult pitch that I've batted on.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Sonny.
Great. Thanks very much for your question, Will. Just we're going to go into the quiz in a second, but just while we're on pitches, Sonny, what did you think of, in terms of...
Well, actually, I'm going to interrupt you here because actually he's been very obliging and he's written a very nice letter to the Cricketer magazine sort of responding to Vic Marks's piece in the Cricketer about what he alleges that Sonny said about the pitches. Or, well, no, in fact, you didn't. You said what you thought of the pitches, and Vic sort of slightly questioned, goes back to one of our earlier questions, that you know, is the BCCI controlling these commentators? And you wrote in the letter that that they're certainly not, and your view of the pitches were quite sort of fair. So go on, Simon. With that in mind,
well, that was
question?
that was sort of what I was going on to. Is in terms of degree of difficulty, the pitches that we saw, not the first test, but the subsequent test matches, how do they compare? I mean, you commentated in India for many years. You played in India for many years. How would they compare with some of the hardest pitches that you played on or have seen played on since?
I think like I said, describe the pitches of the second, third, and fourth test matches. I said they were challenging. They're not easy pitches to bat on, definitely, but they were definitely challenging. You would much rather have a pitch like that rather than a flat pitch where the ball's coming on straight onto the bat, and really it is a one-sided battle where just the batsmen are scoring runs. The way Rohit Sharma batted and got 100, the way Ravichandran Ashwin in the second innings of that second test batted and got 100, showed that, you know, the pitch was not difficult to bat on. My thinking was that the England batsmen went in with a closed mind, with just one approach: we're going to sweep. We're going to sweep everything. Now, sweep is not a shot to be used on pitches where the ball is even turning slightly, because, you know, if the ball stops or turns just a little bit, your sweep is, you'll get 2 or 3 or 4 sweeps right, but the fifth one you're going to edge it, go up, and that's what kept happening. Nobody actually from the England team actually used their feet. Nobody used the depth of the crease to go back, and so they were not able to come back. It was, again, let me say, it was not the easiest pitches to bat on, but like I've written to Vic, you know, I played on pitches which were far worse. And maybe that is the reason I thought they were challenging. Maybe for those who have not seen those kind of pitches, they might have said, oh, those were rubbish pitches. But I have played on worse pitches. And that is the reason.
In India, Sonny, in test matches or in Ranji Trophy matches?
In India, in test matches. In test matches. When we lost to England in 1976, 3-0, the pitches, you know, the ball was turning square. When we lost to Pakistan, the ball was turning from you know, the first over. Imran Khan, Pakistan's captain, I don't think he bowled more than 1 or 2 overs in the second innings. So it just tells you, you know, what it was. So those were not easy pitches to bat on.
Great. Excellent.
I'm just going to answer you one question here. So this isn't part of the quiz, actually, but who do you think got you out the most in Test cricket? Which bowler?
Well, I think I would think it was Deadly Underwood.
Yeah, it was correct. Well, he's going to be showing off here, Sonny, in this quiz. It was Derek Underwood, 12 out of 20 matches, and then Imran Khan and Michael Holding both got you 11 times. Beefy 8 times. Interestingly, I just spotted down here, in 11 matches against Andy Roberts, he only got you out 3 times. So maybe you just couldn't get any runs off him or something.
No, maybe because, you know, I think he made you concentrate that much harder, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Could be. Could be.
Interesting.
But there was, I've got to tell you this. This is a story against me, but I've got to tell you this. And it was the second innings of the 1983 Test match at Kingston, Jamaica, Michael Holding's home ground. And he bowled me first ball behind my legs as I shuffled across to play, hit the pads and got deflected. And my first ball of the second innings, and the leg stump went cartwheeling towards the wicket keeper. You know, the sound, the way the crowd erupted, I was actually scared to go back into the change room. You know, the crowd around, you know, they were all onto the ground. Those were the days when security was not that tight. They were all, you know, onto the ground, dancing, etc. And I was saying, hang on a minute, let them all enjoy themselves. Then I'll go back to the change room. First ball, second innings, ball behind my legs.
Probably, yeah. And of course, he did the same to Boyks as well. And the crowd went mad in Jamaica then too. Or was that Barbados?
Exactly.
That was Barbados. Yeah, Barbados.
Yeah. Just one final question quickly before we go to the quiz. You know, both you and any big Indian star batsman has so much expectation you know, from 1 billion plus people. How do you deal with that? You know, because you're sort of like public property with these, you know, so many millions of people. And I just remember once watching Sachin get out of a coach, you know, surrounded by the usual crowd of 2,000 people as the team were boarding the bus to leave the ground, and he was just getting back on the bus. And there, you know, there were lines of people. This was at Mohali, and he just stared straight into space, sort of into the middle distance without engaging any eye contact. And I just wondered if that was a way of just kind of almost shutting out this incredible expectation and sort of almost fan frenzy that you experience.
Well, it's not easy. During the time that we played, we didn't have, you know, these headphones. So guys today wear headphones. So, you know, they're listening to music or listening to whatever. And so, you know, what the crowd is saying, they're probably aware of what's been, that there's a little bit of noise, but they don't maybe actually hear what's happening. It didn't quite happen during the time we played. You know, it actually came at you from both sides. And it was very simple, very simple. The crowds on both sides, when you got out of the coach at entering the ground, got out of the coach, going into the hotel, all that they were saying is, we want 100. We want 100. Now, you know, and it was the pressure was even in the hotel. You ordered room service. The guy who came to deliver your food, your breakfast or whatever it is, he had only two requests, and they sounded more like demands than requests. One was for a ticket for the match, not for him because he was going to be working, but for my sister or my brother. And secondly, we want a century. We want a century. Now, so that became something that, you know, became constant. But over a period of time, you got used to it, used to the fact that they're going to say the same thing. So you try to be nice and say, yes, okay, I'll be trying my best, pray for me. And let's see if it works out.
Okay. Well, it worked out 34 times, so you did all right. Right. Okay. Well, this quiz, as Simon already mentioned, it's called "How Well Do You Know Yourself?" And just before we start it, I'm going to show you this isn't actually the current leaderboard, but this is just an example of some of the people we've had on and how they did.
Jeffrey.
Yes. So these are the sort of targets of people you've got to try and beat. Gower made 9 out of 10. Jeffrey got 8.5 and Jonathan Agnew 7.5. And we've Paul Collingwood is the only person who's got a 10 out of 10 actually. But that's one of the leaderboards we've had anyway. So that's your kind of benchmark. Okay. Yeah. Right. So we're going to play the music, which is this. Right, and it's 10 questions, and it's sort of like 6 to beat anyway. So, yeah, Simon, off you go.
Right, but what we should also say, Sunil, as well, is that the lowest score was 4, and that was by Alistair Cook. So, you know, if you get more than 4, you know, that's fine. But anyway,
and what I also forgot to mention is if you get the right answer, you get this. He's got it. A good bit of commentary from Ian Smith, and the wrong answer is this.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
Fire away.
Here we go. 10 questions then. Question number 1, straightforward question. Who currently has a higher test average, yourself or Virat Kohli? So you've obviously finished.
Virat Kohli has.
Is the right answer. Sunil finished with 51.12 and Virat Kohli is just ahead at the moment on 52.4. So 1 out of 1.
Here's a man who knows his stats. Question 2. Who dismissed you in your last test innings?
Iqbal Qasim.
He's got it! And what did you score?
96.
Oh, very good. We're not giving you an extra mark for that. Very good, though. And India lost the match, but you made 96, and Iqbal Qasim is the correct answer. So 2 out of 2.
Yeah, a bizarre game that actually, because you were man of the match for scoring 96 in the second innings, highest score in the game, but you lost by 16 to Pakistan in Bangalore. Question number 3. Zahir Abbas must have been the unluckiest man in cricket because you have 2 international wickets and he was the victim on both occasions for 96 and 48. But what we want to know is who took the catches to help you dismiss him?
Well, for the 96, he was caught by Chetan Chauhan. And for the 40 odd, I think 48 or something, he got. I don't remember. It could be Chauhan again.
What should we go? Well,
I think half a point there. Half a point.
Half a point.
Yeah, Chetan Chauhan was the catcher for the test dismissal. Kapil Dev was the catcher for the one-day international dismissal.
Yeah, I know where he was out, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
In the test match at mid-on and in the one-day game at extra cover, looking to get to a century, got out at 96. Looking to get to a 50, got out at extra cover.
What that must have been one of your. This is one of your proudest moments to get Zahir out on 96 in a test match.
This gives me 10 minutes during any after dinner event that I'm speaking on. I mean, describing the delivery that got Zahir Abbas out, I take 10 minutes to describe it. So I'm not going to take that time over here. Maybe next time we're at a dinner, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, great. Okay, well, so you got 3.5 out of 4 there. No, sorry, 2.5 out of 3. I mean. 2.5 out of 3. Okay, question 4. You are from Mumbai. How many of your 34 test hundreds did you score at the Wankhede Stadium?
5.
He's got it straight away. Very good. Including your first in India. And
that is correct.
Your average at the Wankhede was 58 as well. So very good. Okay. Home loving boy. Okay, 4.5 out of 3.5 out of 4. 3.5 out of 4.
Okay, question number 5. This might take a little bit of time to work out, actually. How many players have scored more than your 34 test hundreds?
How many number? Oh, there must be. There's Sachin Tendulkar, there's Jack Callis, there's Ricky Ponting, there's Kumar Sangakkara, there is Rahul Dravid. That is 5 straight away. I think Brian Lara is the same, 34. So I think maybe 5 players.
Yep, well done. 4.5 out of 5. Those are the 5 who've got more than your 34 test hundreds. Going well, Sunny.
Yeah, you're doing really well. You're doing very well. Right, this is question 6. In your famous or infamous 36 not out of 174 balls in the first ever World Cup match against England Lords in 1975, how many boundaries did you hit?
I hit 1 boundary.
He's got it! Very good. Oh. How the hell did you manage that? Firstly, how the hell did you manage to get the question right? And how did you manage to bat for 6 overs and only hit 1 boundary?
On another day. I shall tell you that on another day.
Okay. Yeah. For those of you who aren't aware, one of the oddest one-day internationals, India 132 for 3 off 60 overs, losing by 200 runs. Anyway, a story for another day, perhaps. Right, going well, 5.5 out of 6. Question number 7, straightforward one. You captained India 47 times in Test cricket. Did you win more tests than you lost, or did you lose more tests than you won as captain?
No, I think I won more test matches than I lost. I think it's something like 9-8.
He's got it! Well, we didn't ask for 9-8, but it is 9-8. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, 1-9, lost 8, 30 draws in those 47 test matches. 6.5 out of 7.
Right, I'm going to change this question. I've got a question here, which this question actually is, I'm just going to give it to you anyway. In which country, this isn't the question, in which country did you have your best test average? You got any idea?
Best test average is in the West Indies.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, 70, average 70 in the West Indies. That's impressive. Actually, the question is, there were 2, there were 3 batsmen who averaged 50 in Test cricket in the 1980s who weren't from the West Indies. So the West Indies were the sort of dominant power at the time. Viv Richards averaged 50, but he didn't have to face his own bowlers. There were 3 batsmen other than Viv who averaged 50 in the 1980s, throughout the 1980s. You were one. Who were the other 2?
Oh, Javed Miandad
Correct.
is one, and Alan Border.
Very good indeed. Correct. Alan Border and you. So there were only 4 batsmen who averaged 50 throughout the 80s with the West Indies playing, and you. Those are the 4. Brilliant. Okay, so that's 7.5 out of 8.
7.5 out of 8. Okay. Question number 9. What was remarkable about your batting performance in your final first-class match?
First class as in Test cricket, or?
Well, it was
first class match, not necessarily Test. Your final first class match.
It was a major in a major match, but it was a first class, not a Test match.
The MCC bicentenary Test. Then I got 100 in that. Yeah, that is what I remember. 180 in that game.
Yeah, that's part of the answer.
That's part of the answer.
And I got a 0 in the second.
He's got it! Correct.
188 in the first innings, 0 in the second innings.
What a way to finish.
What a way to finish, yeah. But then Sir Don Bradman also got a duck in his final innings.
Actually, it's like leaving them wanting more, isn't it? That's what you do.
Yeah.
Make sure you leave them wanting more. Right. So you got 8.5 out of 9. Now, this is a question which, I mean, it might sound a bit cryptic, right? This is a picture question. And what I want to know is, have a look at this picture, right? First. Okay. See that?
Yeah.
Now, the question is, how did this typical Indian road scene influence your batting? Yeah.
Couple of things is that if you couldn't hit the ball straight, then you look for the gaps. And like Everton Weeks said to me once at a cocktail party, son, the only way to score is finding the gaps. And so I think, what you learn from that picture is finding the gaps. And might I add that Everton Weeks was not just talking about batting.
Interesting. And so, yeah, I'll give you that. It was also a little bit about when you're driving in India, what do you do?
You just look straight. Don't look anywhere here or there, because that's the one way that you're going to be pretty certain that you're not going to hit anybody. The moment you're distracted, look. I mean, when I took my driving lessons, the instructor told me one thing: just keep looking at the front of where your headlights are. You'll be fine. Don't look anywhere else. Don't let your eyes move anywhere else. And so that's what I did. And I always thought that driving in Mumbai was fantastic for your concentration as a batsman, because you didn't think of anything else. You didn't let any thought come in your mind, because you're so focused on getting your car through. Obviously, the reason when I played for Somerset, I didn't like driving, because driving in England, it was so orderly. I mean, there were no trucks cutting the lane without any indicator, or no cars jumping into my lane. So I just wasn't able to drive in England. And after that, I've never driven in England, because it's very, very orderly. I like a little bit of chaos when things are coming around, so your concentration is there. Or for that matter, coming from a side lane, coming into a main road. I mean, what I've learned in England was you stop. Then you come, look to the right to see if there's any traffic coming, look to the left if there's any traffic coming, then go on to the main road. But not in India. In India, if you try and do that, somebody from behind is going to hit you. So whether you come to the end lane, you got to try. So, you know, so.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, that's a beautiful explanation of the difference between Indian and English driving. And basically, in India, nobody uses a brake, do they? They just actually, but if there's an obstacle, they just go around it. And to hell with everyone else.
So find the gaps.
Beautiful answer. 9.5 out of 10. That's an incredible performance. Typical of a man who scored 10,000 runs. Almost perfect.
But Capel Dev, and you'd have been on 10 out of 10 with Paul Collingwood. There we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's outstanding. Well done.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You'll go to the top of our new leaderboard anyway.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Well, listen, I
told you if it's up to 1990, I'll be all right. Anything over 1990, I would struggle.
Yeah. Okay. So which batsman's, I was going to ask you, no, I won't. I was going to ask you something like which batsman's hit the most sixes in T20, but you probably know the answer to that anyway.
No. I think Chris Gale probably.
Yeah, it's Chris Gale. You've got that one as well. Yeah. Bonus question. Chris Gale. Yeah. Over 1,000. He's hit over 1,000 sixes in T20.
Unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable. I mean, he just hits it for fun.
Yeah, he does. Right, Sonny. Well, listen, thank you very much. Simon, you got a final thought or anything?
Well, my final thought is it'd be good to see Sonny when he's done his 10-day quarantine. And I mean, it's going to be a fantastic summer, isn't it? I mean, it really is. For India, World Test Championship, 5 Test series against England. There is something special about India coming to England. And I think we're all looking forward to it and hope the weather behaves itself. It hasn't been sunny in the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's been horrendous, raining and cold, but I think it's picking up at the end of the week. And I think we're all looking forward to the cricket season. Getting going again, really. It feels it's been on hold in the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, so it certainly does. Well, Sonny, good luck with your travels. And if you're bored in your quarantine, give us a ring. We'll ask you some more questions. We'll test your knowledge of the 1990s. Anyway, many thanks for staying up and joining us. And of course, it's all in aid of the Cricketers Trust and Professional Cricketers Trust. So it's all for a great cause. Many thanks, and you're free to go to bed, I guess.
But anytime what you guys are doing is fantastic, for the Cricketers Trust, Professional Cricketers Trust. And anytime you want me to do anything, just let me know. Be happy to do that.
Amazing.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I hope you have a good night and good luck with everything. Cheers. Good night.